Right, 25 October 2024. And today I'm going to be giving you an update on all that is happening in our region. There's a lot of significant events taking place. And today is one of the most important days in Zimbabwe, in the political future of our country. And I'm talking here about the Zanu PF Annual People's Conference here. It's been going on for the past 3 days. So we're now entering the last 3 days of the conference. And this is going to start with Mnangagwa opening officially the annual conference of Zanu PF in Bulawayo. And today is significant because this is the day when the deliberations are going to be formalized. So all the resolutions are already listed. The Zanu PF guys know what they're going to discuss, but we're going to see now everything coming out into the public. So what was happening before is that everything was happening in secret and people were hiding their true intentions. So Mnangagwa was hiding his true intentions. However, by the end of this weekend, Mnangagwa will have to say exactly what he thinks. And I want to bring your attention to a specific thing that has happened. So this week, during the Central Committee of Zanu PF, there was a discussion on the ED 2030 and the slogan, Mnangagwa Chiripo by 2030. 2030, Mnangagwa Chitonga. And that slogan was discussed according to the Independent of today. And Chiwenga was given an opportunity to address the issue. And during the address, Chiwenga is said to have told the gathering that they should not continue to utter the divisive slogan and they should avoid divisions in the party because the party should not go back to 2017. So Chiwenga specifically mentioned the words, the party should not go back to 2017. So 2017 is when the coup took place in Zimbabwe. And Mnangagwa is said to have not responded to anything. So he did not respond to the debate on the ED 2030, which took place for 2 hours. So I think this is very important to note. Something was discussed for 2 hours and Mnangagwa did not talk. He did not say anything about it. And the end result was that people then concluded that Mnangagwa supports ED 2030. And an attempt by one of the war veterans, Andy Mhlanga, to say they will accept if Mnangagwa decides not to go for 2030 was met with boos. So he was booed for saying that statement. So that is Andy Mhlanga here. He said if Mnangagwa was to accept not to go for 2030, they would also understand, but he was booed by people who were inside the gathering. So the Central Committee of Zanu PF discussed this issue. So the expectation is that by Sunday, Mnangagwa would then be presented with the proposal or the resolution that he must extend his rule to 2030 and an amendment should be done. And then Mnangagwa will accept that resolution. He is expected to accept it. And let me explain to you why. Mnangagwa has invested a lot. And I've said this whole week. This is the moment that Mnangagwa has been waiting for. This is the last opportunity for Mnangagwa to extend his term. If he doesn't extend now, his whole agenda is going to fall flat. Mnangagwa is going to become lame duck for the next 3 years. And eventually, Mnangagwa won't complete his term. So Mnangagwa will not complete this term if he does not do ED 2030. The situation in the country is such that he cannot continue. His rule is making no sense. And everyone in Zanu PF understands that Mnangagwa is the problem. So what Mnangagwa needs to do now is to protect his allies, because this is also about protection. there is a lot of protection that is needed for people like Chiwenga, people like Kudata Gure, his children, the twins, and the large number of people of the Mnangagwa clan that are within the government. They are at the mercy of the Chiwenga faction. If Mnangagwa is not there as the godfather, this whole Ponzi scheme will collapse. So it is critical for Mnangagwa to stay in office until his children are ready. So what Mnangagwa is trying to do here is to wait for the boys to get to a point where they can take over. So remember, at a bigger picture scale, what you're seeing here is Mnangagwa's attempt to make sure that by the time he leaves, one of the boys takes over as president of Zimbabwe. So one of the boys will eventually have to become a vice president, replacing Chiwenga. And the first step is to go for it 2030 as a way of buying time. And I think Chiwenga has made a mistake by uttering those words that Zimbabwe must not go back to 2017. I think those who grew up in the rural areas, they know this thing called Chikuku vata, where people are playing with the chicken and massaging it just before they chop its head. That is what is happening to Chiwenga right now. These guys, they are massaging Chiwenga, making him feel like everything is normal, nothing is going to happen. But what you're going to see is a surprising and sudden move against Chiwenga, and it will come when he doesn't expect it. And I hope that is ready for what is coming. Mnangagwa is ruthless, and this plan cannot be reversed. That is why you see that they have to support even ridiculous people like Chiwenga. Chiwenga is a ridiculous person. He is a person that you cannot support. But Mnangagwa is continuing with this support for him. They are granting him the ISP license, even though he has been shamed in public for corruption. The same thing is happening with Chiwenga around the whole region. He is now in Namibia, where he's involved with the rainform, and still Mnangagwa supports him. If you look at the situation in Mozambique, yesterday there was an announcement of the results that are contested. And for the first time, SADC failed to issue a statement. The CEO of SADC has failed to issue a statement in Mozambique because Mnangagwa is not chairman. Mnangagwa is causing so many problems, and he's not going to go quietly. He's not going to go without a fight. And you're going to see that Chiwenga will be presented with a difficult decision to make. And he better be strong, because what's going to happen cannot be stopped. So as you can see, this is a critical week, and these are the next critical, most critical 3 days. Friday, today, Saturday, tomorrow, and then Sunday, the announcement of the resolutions. And then by Monday, I expect that Chiwenga's wings are going to have been clipped by Zanu PF, Mnangagwa, because there are now two factions. The majority of Zanu PF is behind Chiwenga. The people in the grassroots, they are behind Chiwenga. But the structures, the security structures, and the power lies with Mnangagwa, because Chiwenga is under Mnangagwa. He needs to get off from under Mnangagwa. So Chiwenga, if he is to become the president of Zimbabwe, he first of all has to leave the structure of Mnangagwa. And I'm anticipating that that will happen within this week. By Sunday, we'll have a proper decision on that. A way would have been found to remove Chiwenga from the vice president's position. That is what I am predicting, that these are the last days of the Chiwenga vice presidents. If you see Chiwenga still vice president, they are doing that Chikuku vata that I told you about. They will massage him, but something else is going to come. They're going to find a way of taking him out. Chiwenga is the biggest threat right now for Mnangagwa, and Mnangagwa is not going to stay with that threat sitting there. They are going to act on him, and it's going to happen very, very quickly and in a way that you do not expect. So let's all observe. And as I said to you, I always tell you about things before they happen. I do not talk about things that are happening. These things that I'm talking about are happening within the next 3 days. They're not far. And I'm putting my reputation on the line. I've never been wrong about the situation in Zanu PF because I know Mnangagwa very well. Mnangagwa is very predictable. Mnangagwa is going to stay on course on these kind of issues. He is very, very cunning, but is very, very predictable. You are going to see Mnangagwa doing the one thing that he knows best, which is to consolidate. And he's going to consolidate, and eventually he's going to become the last man standing. That is what Mnangagwa wants to do. He wants to become the last man standing. He wants to decimate everyone else. And eventually he will stand over there like a king Mutapa. That is what he wants to do. Mnangagwa sees himself as a king of Zimbabwe, not as a president. He sees himself as someone that was anointed by God to become a president of Zimbabwe. And he sees his duty as that of obtaining maximum power and leaving that power to his children. That is what Mnangagwa sees, and that is how he sees himself. Now, let's quickly look at what's happening in the region. As I said already, in Mozambique, there's been an announcement, a final announcement of the result. And Frelimo and Chapo have been declared. Venancio Mondlane has been given 20% of the vote. He's the second most popular candidate. And the rest of the candidates for 3% each. And I'm anticipating a GNU of some sort and the negotiation taking place with Venancio Mondlane getting a big position in the party, in the government of Mozambique. There's no way that they can leave him out of the government. So I'm anticipating some sort of negotiation taking place in Mozambique. The election has lost credibility. No one takes that election seriously. We all know that they stuffed the ballots. We know that the election results are fake. Venancio Mondlane won that election. He is extremely popular among the young people who voted. And Mozambicans are fed up of their resources being stolen by foreigners. So the situation in Mozambique is being pushed by foreigners who are stealing the resources of Mozambique, the mineral wealth, the gas, and the forests of Mozambique are being plundered by foreigners. And Venancio Mondlane was going to be the only president who would provide security to Mozambique. And under Chapo, we're going to see more of the same, a weak Mozambican army and a weak country. Mozambique is very weak. The central government of Mozambique is very weak. If it was not for the guys from Rwanda, Mozambique would have collapsed and would have been overrun by the jihadists who are there in Mozambique. So Venancio Mondlane, very important, and we'll see what happens. He has called for a strike, starting yesterday, it started, and it's going to end today. And he has spoken of a need for another 22 days for each bullet that hits Vino Diaz. So each bullet that hits the lawyer of Mozambique is going to be represented, of Podamos, is going to be a day of strike in Mozambique. So Venancio Mondlane still to play a very big part and a big role within Mozambique. Then in Zimbabwe, there is a big occasion today. So that is 106 years of Paul Mwazha. So in Zimbabwe, there are many big churches, but Paul Mwazha is the most well-known, leads the biggest church in the country. So there is a birthday message for Paul Mwazha. I'm going to put it for you on Gambakwe. This is Archbishop Ernest Paul Mamvura Mwazha of Africa, a grand heavenly patron and a great servant of the Most High God. So that you can go and check out that statement by the apostolic churches. Paul Mwazha, a powerful figure who has prophesied the future of Zimbabwe without any doubt. So you're going to see a lot of festivities around him. Today, 106 years, one of the oldest people in Zimbabwe. We recently featured a woman who died, 106 years also. So there's an area in Zimbabwe where there are people who are above 100 years. And I've asked the guys to go over there and check out what those guys are eating. Why are they so old over there? So that is the statement by Publicity Chairman Bishop G. Jawangwe. You can go and see it on Gambakwe. After a while, I'm going to upload it over there so that you can see what they're saying about Mwazha. Then in Botswana, yesterday, all the candidates had a presidential debate, and you can go and check it out on BTV. If you're able to understand Setswana, you'll be able to listen to this. I was unfortunately not able to hear most of it. And you can see the president of Botswana, Masisi, there on the right. Masisi is on the verge of losing the election if he doesn't rig. So what is happening is that, and tonight, Tinashe Jonas is going to come here. Masisi is on the verge of rigging the elections in Botswana. And already there's been warnings that there's been plans to rig the election in Botswana. And Tinashe Jonas will come here and provide us with details from Zimbabwe intelligence sources on what is happening within the Botswana elections. So you'll be able to come here tonight at 10 minutes past 9 to see the full details of how the Botswana election is being rigged and also how the Mozambique election was rigged. That information will be produced today by Tinashe Jonas, who is a senior intelligence agent of the Zimbabwe intelligence, or CIO, over 5 years. So I'm not saying I know what's happening. I'm giving you someone who is inside CIO, who was involved in the planning of these things. Then in Zimbabwe, Deloitte, one of the audit firms, has left. So that is Deloitte here. They've issued a statement to say that they're leaving Zimbabwe. They've just changed the day in which they're going to leave. They've moved the exit date from 31 October 2024 and will now be leaving on 30 November 2024. So they've delayed their exit by 1 month, and Deloitte is going to change their name. So Deloitte Zimbabwe is going to change their name to Accentium. So if you are one of the people that need an auditor, you now need to go to Accentium instead of Deloitte Zimbabwe. The reason being, they've exited the Deloitte network. So Deloitte network is an international network, and in Zimbabwe they've exited because of the current situation in the country. And speaking of Botswana, Botswana is reliant on diamonds. There's a conference on the reliance of Botswana on diamonds. So there is a crisis because the price of diamonds is going down, the exports of Botswana are going down, and the country is facing a collapse. So there's going to be a webinar on this, and I'm going to provide this for you. It's a Corporate Governance Africa. And that webinar is going to happen on the 28th of October, and you'll be able to scan and register on that QR code that is there. So you can go to Gambakwe and find out what's going to happen to Botswana. Masisi faces a massive loss if he doesn't rig. So that is a point that I want to make and keep repeating. Then going to South Africa, the DBSA, or the Development Bank of Southern Africa, is being accused of signing an agreement with the Russian bank, which is under sanctions. And this has become a crisis because obviously if you sign a contract with someone who is under sanctions, especially with American sanctions, then you're violating many banking laws. So they have issued a statement. The CIO, Boitumelo Mosaka, has issued a statement saying that this is not true, that they've signed a statement with a contract with, or a funding agreement with the Russian bank, because this is quite dangerous for DBSA. They will be blacklisted if they were to do that. DBSA has got many projects within Southern Africa. And unfortunately, South Africa is trying to dabble on both sides. They're trying to be with the Americans, and they're trying to be with the Russians, and they're trying to be with the Chinese. That is crazy. It's like having 3 girlfriends. That is what South Africa is trying to do, trying to play the big powers against each other. and it's a very dangerous game that they're playing. If I was South Africa, I would dump the whole BRICS thing and just become a normal country, because Russia and China, they only have one interest, and that is the interest of their own countries. They don't care about another country. They're only using these other countries to get back at the Americans. And if you want to deal with China, so taking Zimbabwe, for instance, the only thing that is useful for China is infrastructure. So infrastructure through China is cheap. If you're building rail with China, it costs 1/10 of building a rail with, for example, France. So if you want to build the infrastructure, yes, you can go through the Chinese, but you cannot have a long-term relationship. So you must take it as a one-night stand. That is what they should do with the Chinese. They must deal with them at that level. They do the infrastructure, but they go to the Americans and the French and the Europeans and all the other countries, the Canadians, for the ecosystem. As I said to you, the Chinese cannot build an ecosystem. They can only build the infrastructure. So if you put your rail through the Chinese, then you go to other people for the ecosystem, for the systems, and for operations. That is what they should do. And I don't think anyone in Zimbabwe right now is capable of thinking in those terms. And we eventually need a new government to deal with high-speed rail. And as I said, from next year, 2025, high-speed rail is going to be very big. This is something that I'll be spending 100% of my time on. High-speed rail, planned cities, 3.5 hours from Harare to Bulawayo, 2 hours from Bulawayo to Victoria Falls. You need to connect the country. Zimbabwe is not connected. Zimbabwe does not have CBDs. Currently, rural district councils are producing what we call master plans. And today I'm showing you here the master plan for Mazowe. This week, we've shown you the master plan for Kariba, master plan for, I think, Marondera. We've done Gwanda, and also Karoi and Gweru. They've issued their master plans. There is no central planning within Mnangagwa's government. Mnangagwa spends the whole time on the road. He's got no time to plan. Mnangagwa's government is a mess, and Mnangagwa doesn't know what to do. This is very clear, and you need a new leader in government in Zimbabwe, because Mnangagwa is only doing what Mugabe was doing. He doesn't do anything new. He's got no plan for anything else. This week, they were in the UK trying to attract investment from the diaspora. I saw Marian Chombo there. Marian Chombo, she's got no plan. She's a minister there for Mashonaland in the West. One of the biggest opportunities in our country is Mashonaland, because the population there is so big, but they don't know what to do. They've got no idea how to deal with the diaspora, and they think they can do it through Zanu PF. It's not possible. They exclude ZIDA in all their planning, and ZIDA has got no mandate. When I went to Zimbabwe, I went to ZIDA. I passed there, and there was so much confusion. They are unable to link any of the ministries, and their desk is not working. So if you go to ZIDA and you're an investor, their desk is not working. They are unable to connect you with any ministry. And everything's done in Mnangagwa's office, basically. If Mnangagwa doesn't say anything, they don't know what to do. So eventually, the only solution is to have a new government, a new president with a new vision, and then things will start to move in Zimbabwe. But we have a serious crisis under Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa nenzara. I now want to go to the comments, but before I go to the comments, as I said, I'm traveling to the United States, Washington, New York, and maybe other places. But what we want to do is, I'm traveling twice. So I'm going to go now. I'm going to go quite a number of times this year to do a number of things. But what we want to do is work on homecoming, and we want to have a chapter in the major centers. That is the United States, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. And the eventual plan is that the people in the diaspora should take over mostly the important infrastructural projects, especially in rail, high-speed rail. High-speed rail, I do not believe that should be owned by foreigners. So high-speed rail in Zimbabwe is the core of what is going to happen in the future, and high-speed rail should be owned by locals. So you should own a portion of the high-speed rail. if Zimbabwe implements high-speed rail the way I envisage it, or the way I envision it, it would result in a connection of the country and growth and production. At the moment, there is no connection to markets. People in Wange can't see people in Mutare. People in Harare can't see people in Victoria Falls. Going to all the game parks that are around Kariba, 3 of them, is impossible. So it's important to get these things done. And unfortunately, Mnangagwa can't do it. The only plan Mnangagwa has got is to make his sons the vice president and to give all the contracts to Chivayo and Chakwiri. Those are the 2 people that Mnangagwa works with. And right now, we are seeing his move, his biggest move so far. You are going to see a move that you cannot expect and that you cannot believe is real. Right, let's go to the comments very quickly. And then, as I said, tonight we'll be back with Tanashi Jonasi. The diaspora is the bridge needed for Zimbabwe to succeed. Unity is the key. Yes, but this thing must make money, Mkoma Shine. The way I look at it, we need the diaspora to own the future infrastructure. And Mnangagwa's infrastructure is not future looking. Mnangagwa, everything is backward looking. Mnangagwa does not know how to raise capital. Imagine right now, he's got 68 people in jail for over 130 days. Do you think someone is stupid enough to come and invest in a country where they can be arrested and thrown in jail for no reason for 130 days? So those are the kind of things. Under Mnangagwa, the government of Mnangagwa is not progressive. Mnangagwa's policies are very poor and he doesn't know what to do. That is the problem right now. And we need a leadership change in the country. And then Mkoma teacher says, Jonas is not a CIO, it's just a lunatic. Time is will tell, he's a liar just like you. Why do you lie always? Jonas is a CIO or was a CIO. Tell me how Jonas became a member of the African Parliament, Pan-African Parliament. Mkoma teacher, answer that question. How did Jonas become a member of the Pan-African Parliament? If you're saying he's a liar, to answer this statement that I just asked you, how did Jonas get close to Obet Mpofu, Chiwenga, Upamchinguri, Garwe, Mchangwa? How did he do that? Have you ever been close to those people? So let's not play here. We're talking serious games. These guys, they made a serious mistake. And they're making these mistakes because they're trying to avoid the official structures of intelligence. So they're putting intelligence agents into place who are not within the formal structures. And they create their own intelligence. That's how they do it. And Mnangagwa, they create parallel structures. And the intelligence and security structures of Zimbabwe are very unhappy with those kind of things. Because right now you've got 2 or 3 intelligence agencies operating in the country. So don't put this on me. Put this on Mnangagwa, who made Jonas CIO and put him into all those positions. And unfortunately, you will not agree to it because you don't get it. Pan-African Parliament is a big thing. How do you put him to be an MP there if he's not CIO? How did that happen? So I'm giving you only what I know. And unfortunately, we're going to take the information that he provides here and we'll put it in the public domain. And then want to look at some newspapers. I'm very concerned about the situation taking place around Chief Marupi, who passed away. He's being ignored in the press. So I expect and think that there's something big happening over here. There is something that has happened which we're not being told with this chief. He's passed away and all the newspapers are ignoring this story or they're suppressing the story. So something has happened to this young chief and we have to keep digging so that this thing doesn't go away. You know, Mnangagwa, they've got the habit of hiding important stories. Was this chief taken out or was he killed? What happened to that chief, the 28-year-old chief from Bulawayo? So we need to continue to demand answers. And the people of Matabeleland cannot just be quiet. when this kind of thing happens. You need someone in Matabeleland to speak up. And people like Chief Ndiweni, they need to make and use their platforms to question what has happened with the young chief. They cannot just sit there and be quiet when the chief has died and it's almost as if nothing has happened. What has happened to that chief when people are just quiet like this? Well, how did he get to Harare? How did his body end up in Harare? Who attacked his home? What are the outcomes of the police investigation on Chief Marupi's attack on his home? Who took his car? Those are the questions that we need to be answering right now. But it's all silence right now. So in B Metro, we have another cheating story. A Bulawayo woman, Sisasenko Simpofu, has left her home on the night of the marriage to Mbongeni Moyo, who is an SDA church elder, and went and spent the night with the Geshom Kwatiringa, who is married. So that's in B Metro, Apa. It means kuti Mbongeni Moyo has kurova mve. So, and this is kuti zvakafamba sei apa, but it's said this situation is developing in Bulawayo, where every week the B Metro is to deliver yet another sad story of cheating. So you can see kuti these stories are getting more and more. Bride elopes with lover on wedding night. Go check it out in the B Metro newspaper. Very interesting newspaper. I like the B Metro. Very small but effective newspaper. They always do the right thing. Then let's go to H Metro and see what's on H Metro. H Metro Zimbabwe. This thug. So they're leading with the story of the thug and the schoolgirl. But I want to take you to this story. We covered this story yesterday on Gambakwe. So our guys, our entertainment reporters have covered the story of Hilary Makaya has gone on the defensive, but speculation is growing that her marriage to businessman Andrew Manongore might be on the rocks. Others are saying this could be the beginning of the end for the union. So Hilary Makaya is married to Andrew Manongore, but the belief is that Andrew Manongore is also married to another woman. So I don't know what the story is about, but go check out. H Metro has done a much more bigger coverage on this story. And you know, Hilary Makaya is a very popular young lady. I think she's one of the top women in Zimbabwe, very in demand. Many stories here in this newspaper, H Metro, one of my favorite newspapers. And today is a big news day in all the countries around us. So if you go to Zimbabwe, it's Manika Post, B Metro, H Metro, The Independent, Newsday, all these newspapers are out there, and you can get all the news that you want to get. Zimbabwe is doing very well. In Southern Africa, Zimbabwe has got one of the biggest media companies, who is Zimpapers. Zimpapers is a listed entity, and is probably one of the most organized companies. Unfortunately, they are being made a joke by Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa tended to destroy the media. I want to show you what's happening in ZBC. So ZBC News Desk, these guys are trying. But what has happened is that Auxilia Mnangagwa initially provided them with clothing, dressing through the ZTA. But she's removed that dressing. So this is the ZBC News Desk. The guys are doing a good job of trying here. But look what they're wearing. They have taken away the dressing that they put them to was very professional. But now they've taken away all the dressing that the ladies had, the designer clothing that they had on the Zimbabwe, which is the Zimbabwe cloth. And that was very good because it was showcasing your country's cloth, and it was showing your news desk as something which makes sense. But now every day you see someone wearing something different, and the other one is wearing that, and the other one is wearing this. And that all happens because there's so much interference within that news desk of Zimpapers. There's no 24-hour news coverage, and they don't cover important events. For example, when they cover the Zanu PF Annual National People's Conference, there's no analysis. Have you ever seen anyone analyzing what is it that Obed Mpov said about the 200 dead people. What does it mean? Deep interviews and questions about succession, about ED 2030. Those are the things that you expect to see from a national television, but it will never happen, and you never see it until you have a new leader, because Mnangagwa is the problem. That's why everything is falling apart. It's because of Mnangagwa, and everyone knows it. Now, I want to go to one more comment before I go. Mkoma Collins says, Zimbabweans, you are now fighting Gambakwe saying he's lying, but these people who dig, I don't care about being told that I'm lying. I've been here I started Gambakwe Media in 2010 when I left the United States. That week I came here and I established Gambakwe Media, and I only had 5 followers. That was my wife, my brothers, and one other guy whose name I won't mention here. And we went like that for quite a number of years. And then obviously things developed. We're going to do very, very well. And we're going to build the Gambakwe head office. And you're going to own part of it. The Gambakwe head office is going to consist of office space, and we're going to have a bit of retail space. But the most important part of Gambakwe Media House is that you'll be able to come to it, and you'll be able to enter and participate in whatever you want to do. You'll be able to spend time in the Gambakwe head office. The way we're going to build it is such that it's a public space. So that's my vision. My vision is to eventually create something where if you want to be a creator, you can come and create. If you want to spend a day, you can come and spend a day. If you want to have a coffee, you can have a coffee. If you want to gym, you can have a gym. So that's the kind of thing that I want to do. And then, Bethias, I want to answer you. Kanega channel, kanonzi point something. Kaka produce a video. That old man from America. I talk to him every day. They took advantage of the old man and took portions of what he was saying. That old man, I talk to him every day. He's a very nice old man. And he's a former police chief. And they took a portion and then edited it and said Gambakwe and Chamisa and all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you about 0.5. 0.5 creative, Yakagadzirwana, the Minister of Information. That is where they made that 0.5 creative, what. That is, those guys work with the Minister of Information. And those guys, Minister of Information, they don't know that I know everything that they do. Like, I literally know what they try to do in my news house, in my newsroom. I know everything. And I've got people inside your ministry who can tell me what's happening. But 0.5 creative, those guys work for Anna Genfan and all that. They're together. He was initially working with Mnangagwa, Sekuru Tasu. That's why he was a publicity for that guy. So don't waste time with such people. The things that I'm talking about here, they are not at that level. You're to my boozers and to my channel. I'm talking here about the future plans of our country. What we're planning to do. You see, I'm living here, I'm going to the United States. I'm not talking about Muna, not Akashika Kumbare, Oto Ndashika. I'm talking about the things that will take our country to the next level, where we are eventually going to do well and get back our respect as a country. That is the level that we need to go. I am a holder of a master's in business leadership, and I am a PhD student. But I throw away all that. The vision that I've got, if you take Mnangagwa's vision and put it here, and put my vision and put it there, Mnangagwa is like a kid playing with toys, because the vision that we're talking about is big. High-speed rail, planned cities, 2 houses for each soldier, and 3 hours from Harare to Bulawayo, 2 hours from Bulawayo to Victoria Falls. These are the things that will take our country forward. Homecoming, those are the kind of things that we're talking about. So when I see my jokes on some channels about Gambakwe, I don't even have time for it, because I'm going to do very, very well. And Isaac says we need to remove Zanu PF. We don't need to remove Zanu PF. So that is the thing. We need to work together with everyone, every Zimbabwean. But we need to remove Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa is the problem. Zanu PF is not the problem. There are people in Zanu PF who are fed up of Mnangagwa. But Mnangagwa has created a dangerous network that needs to be removed. So Mnangagwa is the problem, and don't forget that. Don't forget that Mnangagwa is the issue. It's not other people. You will see that the day Mnangagwa leaves, everything is going to go well in our country. Mnangagwa has been at the center of everything for the past 20 years, without fail. And many intelligence leaders are already saying it in public, that Mnangagwa has been behind everything that we are seeing since then. You've also seen the collapse of the currency, and now the region is starting to suffer under the plans of Mnangagwa. So that is clear. It's clear that Mnangagwa is the one who is behind all these things. I forgot to mention that another person, that is Findel Secondary School Headmaster Rutendo Zvanai, he has been arrested for stealing student exam money. This has become a big issue where private schools are stealing money, which is meant for students. And then in South Africa, the chairperson of UNISA, Dr. Dan Mosia, has honored Mike Nkuna, who is a property developer and owner of Masingita, together with Dr. Thabo Mbeki and UNISA principal and vice chancellor, Professor Puleng Lenka Wula. So that happened yesterday. You can go check it out on all the South African newspapers. So very critical week. And let's recap what I said. Chiwenga, during this week's Central Committee meeting, is said to have told the gathering that Zanu PF should not go back to 2017 or the time when there was a coup, based on the divisive plans to put back Mnangagwa into 2030. So to keep Mnangagwa in office until 2030. And there is a likelihood that by Sunday, a resolution is going to be passed to say that Mnangagwa should extend his term to 2030, and a way should be found to do it. But I believe that Chiwenga has made a mistake by saying that statement and has put himself on the path of removal, because Mnangagwa did not respond. For 2 hours, the discussion went on for 2 hours, and Mnangagwa did not say anything either for or against the statement. So 10 provinces have endorsed ED 2030. The Youth League has endorsed ED 2030. The Women's League has endorsed ED 2030. The group of war veterans aligned to Kefas Ngube have endorsed the ED 2030. And Chiwenga is on one side without a clear backing of the leadership. But I believe that if Mnangagwa was to make that decision to amend the constitution, there will be an action from a portion of the military against that plan. I don't believe that is popular within the security structures. Right, I would like to thank everyone for watching. So I'll see you tonight, 10 minutes past 9, as Tinashe Jonasi reviews the blueprint that Mnangagwa has put out for the region, for the rigging of all elections in Southern Africa. So very, very interesting. You'll be able to see and hear the details of what the plans are. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching.